Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning in live again today. Today is Sunday, April 16th. It is 1 p.m. in the afternoon here on the East Coast, and you are currently watching Skill Building Sunday with your host, me, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments or in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real-world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel and our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel. Lost one of my windows. No, I didn't. I'm good. Never mind. Technology. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, Our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different shows going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can also find Reinventing the Tattoo in all of the major podcast directories, such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is out of print. Sorry, guys, I can't even get a copy of it. And yeah, so good luck with that. If you come across a copy, though, let me know. I'd love to buy it off of you. So yeah, keep me updated. But no matter where you were watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest and greatest event information all at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. We've got a number of sample webinars that you can pick from, such as a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. We've got a free video on advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals and setting your goals. We also have a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown, which is absolutely spectacular, by the way. Highly recommend it. You don't know a lot about the modern history of tattooing. Very insightful. At www.reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, should you decide to join us on one of these Zooms. You can also find the Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different shows going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattoo artists. Everyone from Bob Tyrell and BJ Betts, and there's a whole slew. Andre Malcolm's got a couple of them in there. It's absolutely amazing. Once again, if this is working for you and you can hear me, please let me know in the comments and in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's someone who's looking to get a tattoo or become a tattoo artist, or maybe they're just trying to further their tattoo career. Tag them in this. We're always trying to expand, and we're always trying to get new people involved with new ideas and perspectives. So please let other people know. We have a number of different weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into, starting on Sundays at 1 p.m. with me, Jason Leeser, for the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group. And that's followed on Mondays with 3 different shows. The first one starting at 9 a.m. on Mondays, which is Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we go through and we discuss some drawing techniques and strategies and get back to our fundamentals and our basics as artists. Highly recommend you check it out. James is absolutely phenomenal. And he teaches in such a way that everyone can understand it. So highly recommend you check that one out. Following that, on Mondays at 5 p.m., we have Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple, where we go through and we discuss, that kind of taboo topic that no one really likes to talk about. And that's how we feel about things. Following that, on Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you are a subscriber to the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon or the Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution course, you have access to the Monday evening drawing groups, and I highly recommend you take advantage of that. For me, it was a total game changer. Being able to sit down and get feedback from other artists as you're working can completely and totally change the way that you view things. I did it for quite a long time, and I saw an unbelievable increase in the quality of work that I was putting out. Following that, on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker. Absolutely fantastic show. Highly recommend you tune into that one as well. They cover all different types of topics, and it is absolutely great. Would like to go through and take a second to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make this show happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything up to date. As we know, living in this post-pandemic era, some conventions and events are still getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want the latest and greatest, most up-to-date convention information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you want to visit, it's good for everything. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Next, we have tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers. The leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They are constantly keeping everything upgraded and competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there that you might want to even look into. Take a look at tattoonow.com to find the best way to go through and attract some of those clients that you really want to tattoo, that really want to get the kind of work that you want to do. This is the place to go for that. So take a look at tattoonow.com. And of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very personal and professional shout out to the man, the myth, and the legend, Guy Aitchison. He's the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his biomech encyclopedias. You can pick up some of his DVDs. He's got all different types of fine art prints of his paintings for sale. Occasionally, he's got some original oil paintings for sale on there as well. So go to guyaitchison.com and you can pick all of that up and a whole lot. Would also like to take a minute to thank some of our affiliates, starting off with the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. If you are a tattoo apprentice or you want to become a tattoo apprentice or you are thinking about becoming a tattoo artist, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries. They literally cover and have got great interviews with people that have gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly as far as apprenticeships are concerned. You can't really go wrong. Amy is very knowledgeable and she interviews some people that really bring to light what it's like to try to learn how to do tattoos. So take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. And I would like to give a very personal shout out to TATCOM and Aaron Williams, the mad scientist. TATCOM is literally creating the tools that are going to be building the next generation of tattoos. These guys have taken science and applied it to tattooing in such a way that they've started developing the tools that can allow people to tattoo better, faster, more efficiently, and with a better result than ever before. So if you're looking for the latest tattoo technology and the latest technology to really help step up your game as far as applying tattoos, you cannot go wrong with TATCOM. These guys are literally the cutting edge in tattoo machines, power, and technology. As always, if you like today's show, we ask that you please post a positive review on our channel and help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, or maybe you want to become a sponsor of our community, or maybe you're just looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management@reinventingthetattoo.com, and we'll be happy to get back to you just as soon as we possibly can. With that being said, we are done with the intro. Yay. Wrong button. Close that. And we've got Patrick Mackey with us today.
You said it right this time, dude.
I
Thank you.
know. I'm still trying to figure out if the Facebook Live is working or not. Let's see. I had it scheduled, but I don't think it's working. We've got Bruno in the chats on the YouTube. He says, "Happy Sunday, buddy. Happy Sunday to you too, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you're doing well. Hope life is going well for you." Let's see. I guess scheduling it didn't work, but whatever. There we go. I think I'm live on Facebook now, so that's a plus.
There you go.
Yay. Not that I'm like a super crazy fan of Facebook, and Facebook, please don't boot me off because I said that. But you know, it's you know, I've been around, and I have I've been a part of Facebook for so long that I remember when it was back for college only.
Yeah, I remember that part too.
So it was yeah, it was way back when.
Yeah, that was like early 2000s.
Yep.
And then once you remember stuff like that, does it make you feel like old as fuck? Because it makes me feel old as fuck, even though I'm not.
So I like to think I'm not old, but I know I am. So yeah, it is what it is. It's not, you know, like the biggest thing in the world. I'm not like super hold on. What's Facebook trying to tell me now? Go away.
I heard you talking shit, dude.
Yeah, apparently. Let's see if I can get back to, oh, I guess I have to like tune in from a different page. It's so weird.
Yeah, I haven't had a Facebook in years.
I like to keep, so I have two Facebook pages. Not that I really post a whole lot on anything, but so I've got my personal Facebook page, and then I've got my business Facebook, where I go through and I do a lot of like Instagram promotions. And that's partly because Instagram is owned by Facebook.
Yeah.
So it kind of just makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Hey Jazz, how's it going? So Jazz commented on the Facebook Live. What's up?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she's one of my clients.
Oh, that's super fucking cool.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be doing some live like tattooing. This is fake skin, by the way. I'm going to be raw dogging this with no gloves or anything. So want to put that out there. This is fake skin. This is not on a real human being. Please be aware. Once again, this is fake skin. I am not cross-contaminating anything. And these are old machines that I don't really use anymore. So, and actually, I think I'm going to I'm going to end the live event. I think it's just taking up too much bandwidth. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that seems to be better now. Okay, cool. There we go. Hopefully we're still live.
Yeah.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
going well. Well, no,
Still
I'm
on
wondering
my
if
end,
we're
dude.
still broadcasting out to the I was just making sure that we were still connected to like the YouTube, because my browser just crashed on me.
Oh shit.
I got too many windows open. So hopefully we're still good. But anyway, I think we're still good because I can still see I've got YouTube up on my iPad. So hopefully we're still all right. We should be. I don't see why we would be, but see, I don't know if anyone else is joining us today. I did send out the link to the usual group, so hopefully someone else joins us. Bruno, if you're still there, man, jump on in. Would love
come in and kick it.
Yeah. I'm going to show you guys what I'm working on in just a second. See if we can't light this a little bit better. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, I wanted to, these are some older machines that I no longer use on a regular basis. So I just figured it might be good to like go through and, play around a little bit. I know one of the most common feedback comments that we get from a lot of people is that they want to see more like live tattooing and like tutorials and stuff like that. So hopefully this is gonna work the way that I hope it does. If not, well, we'll find out.
Better luck next time.
Yeah. Well, thankfully there is usually a next time with these things. So let's see. Let's do a 7. Where's this? That's a 9. 7 liner and an 11. But don't need the 9. I'm just hoping this doesn't get super crazy messy today, because if so, I'm going to be kind of upset. But let's see what we got. Yeah. I may actually go through, I think I've got some tape around here really quick. I'll show you what I like to do for just for like grip purposes. This is also a little trick that you can use to help stave off carpal tunnel, because we all know that that's a plague. And it doesn't matter what kind of paper towels you use, but I almost always like to take at least, if it's a full sheet, at least 1 full sheet or at least 2 small sheets. And then I just kind of like fold them up, wrap them around your grip. It gives you a little bit more cushion, for pushing the ink. I always like to do this just because it does. I like to have what I like to call the grip of death on my machines whenever I'm tattooing. So like I squeeze the crap out of my machines as I'm tattooing. So anyone out there that starts to pick up on the fact that that is what you do as well, wrapping a couple of paper towels around your grip can really make a difference on the way that the machine runs. Because if you're squeezing the crap out of that grip when the machine is running, sometimes it can actually affect it the way that the motor runs. And that can lead to maybe struggling to put a line in, or maybe your machine doesn't have quite as much impact. It's just, it's something that I find helps in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I also use the paper towel around my machine every single time. I got pretty big hands. I got a 44 millimeter grip, but it's still just not big enough for me personally.
Yeah. So in that, dude, I switched down. I started using a smaller grip with more paper towels recently. And it's like night and day, man. It's awesome. So this is
I'm apprehensive for the smaller grit.
Why?
Just because I bulk it up already. I mean, how much paper towel do I really want to put on every single setup?
Well, I think the better question is, are you the one paying for the paper towels?
That is a great question. I am not.
Let's see. No, not working. Don't want to work today. Is that what this is? Maybe it's the cable. I think it's on. It's on the side. I don't know. I'm using a different power supply than the one I'm used to. Yep, there we go. This is one of my favorite machines ever.
What is it?
It's the Cheyenne Solterra. It's got the 4.2 millimeter stroke.
That sounds
And
super fucking nice.
oh, dude, this thing for black and gray, I'll use a 25 or a 35 mag for black and gray with this thing, and it just blasts right in.
That's nice.
And it's super smooth. You crank that thing up super fast. You work right off the tips. You don't need a whole lot of needle hanging out if you're going for black and gray. Then again, I also use medium taper or sometimes long taper for black and gray, usually long taper.
Yeah, I'm a long taper guy too.
But still, I'll run it right off the tip of the cartridge, but I'll crank that thing up so quick that some people look at me and they're like, dude, what are you doing? And it's like, wait until it heals. It's going to heal up super fast, right? Because you're barely having any kind of needle penetration. Let's see. Oh, Seth just sent me a text. Okay. But I forget what I was saying. But yeah, so you've got you're working right off the tips of the needles, like right off the tips of each individual pin. And it is just, it's like butter. You don't need to penetrate that far for black and gray. So I always like to go through and work right off the bare tips. And it works an absolute treat. You'll saturate that skin super fast. And you'll get such a beautiful, consistent gray tone throughout the whole area. If you're using your wrist to do flicks to get like the little, almost like a little bit of like a whip shade, right? If you're going for that kind of a look, that's totally cool. Use the trick where you back your needles back a bit more, and you would be surprised at how quickly and easily you can create a very delicate gray shade. For those people just starting out learning how to tattoo, don't use that technique though, because you will probably mess someone up. Like until you're comfortable with your hand pressure and knowing how hard to press on someone's skin, don't try that trick, please.
Yeah, it will not work out good.
Nope, because if you apply too much hand pressure, you're just going to carve people up.
Just like Thanksgiving.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm actually going to pause this for a second and draw some of those waves back in because it just transferred over onto my hand. Did not give it enough time to dry, and that's okay. So we'll go through and knock these guys out next.
I feel like everybody has a difficult time with the healing, or not the healing, with the drying the stencils on fake skin.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's just like a universal issue.
Well, if it wasn't for the fact that I just decided to do this an hour and a half ago, I probably would have been more prepared and had like a stencil done, a stencil applied, and like really like prepped for it. But I literally just thought about this about an hour and a half ago. So I didn't really have any time to prep for it. So I just kind of like sketched something on super quick that I knew I could probably execute in the time that we have.
Yeah.
So, and I figure Japanese waves are always a good one to work with. But I do kind of, I'm not going to lie, I do kind of like working with Sharpie on fake skin simply because it wipes away super quick so you can see what you're doing. And if you're like being accurate and if things are working out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but lately I've been favoring a 4 millimeter stroke for outlining and a 3.5 literally for everything else.
I love my 4.0 for lining stuff. Depending on what I'm doing, I mean the 3.2 I have is fucking great, but I like using the 2.5 for black and gray shading as much as I can because it just makes it so fucking smooth.
See, I've used a 2.5 millimeter machine before for black and gray, and I was not a fan.
Well, I feel like
I
it's
just,
different for everybody, right?
yeah. Oh, it definitely is. I'm just saying my personal preference, not a fan. To me, it was just, I don't know, there was something about the impact that I just did. It almost seemed like it was too smooth. If that
I
makes
could
any
see that.
sense.
No, I could see that, honestly.
Because because of the stroke length, it is going to seem like it's super, super easy and super, super smooth. And like, maybe I want a little bit of a struggle. Maybe I want to do things the hard way, you know?
Maybe I want to make my life difficult.
I mean,
No,
make my life
it's,
difficult in a lot of other ways.
but I mean, at the same time, though, like I'm somebody that came up with not using coils. I've never used a coil ever.
Gotcha. That makes
So
sense.
it's like I've come from a tech background where it was like, how can I do this the best way with doing the least amount of work, basically? How can I work smarter instead of harder? Right. When I
Right.
found out about wireless machines, I was like, well, that just makes sense to me.
Well, but once again, everyone is different and everyone does have their own preference.
Absolutely.
Um,
I still want to get a coil machine. I still want to try it. I still want to explore all the options because I feel like if I just stay closed minded, I'm also doing myself a disservice in that way.
yeah. So when I came up using nothing but coils. Like rotaries weren't even really super popular until I don't know, not in my opinion, not too long ago. I mean, there might have been people that have been using them for like ever, but I was not one of them. I was one of those, I was working in a studio that was one of those loyal to the coil studios.
Yeah.
And hindsight's 2020. So it's like, well, maybe that wasn't the best fit. Because when I did eventually make the switch over to rotary machines, it's like everything I was doing just got so much easier.
Yeah. The whole reason I went rotary right away, even with my one wired machine, which was an amazing machine from Amazon, it was incredible, right? Um, I realized as a client that I enjoyed getting tattooed by rotary machines more than coils.
Really?
Yeah. It felt like maybe it was just the artist that ended up giving me that impression because their hand was so much lighter or heavier than the other.
Interesting.
But I was
The-
just like, yeah, when I can stop getting tattooed by coils, I'm gonna absolutely never fucking do that again personally. Now I don't really care, but
Yeah, now it's like, yeah, whatever's comfortable for you,
yeah, now I'm more so like, dude, you're the artist. You know, it works for you. I'm coming to you for a reason.
right? And that's ultimately what matters because we all do have different preferences. Um, and I'm not saying that there's a right and a wrong way to do or apply a tattoo. And I'm not saying, and this goes for everything that I talk about, by the way, for anyone out there that is listening, everything that I say and everything I recommend, that's what works for me. Okay. That's not necessarily something that like is standardized because there are people all across the board in all walks of life in all areas of the country that may hold a different opinion. These are my opinions and what I have come to realize through my own experiences. Um, just because I say it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the end all be all. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's gospel. These are just my experiences from what I have gone through. Right now, I do like the impact and I do like the fact that I can feel the machine a bit more because I'm a very big person when it comes to being driven by the feel of the machine, right?
Well, yeah,
That's kind of the way
absolutely.
that I was always taught to tattoo was you need to feel it. You can work off a sound, right? And that's the way a lot of old school coil guys will say, they'll be like, no, it doesn't sound right. And it's like, okay. And that is true. It's like, but if it doesn't sound right, but when you put it in your hand, if it sounds right and it works right, then is it that big of a deal?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, the guy I'm going to be working with at the new shop I'm going to be at in Chattanooga, he was somebody where he was like listening to his machine because I was like, what voltage do you run your machine at? Like, how are you going about what you're doing? And he just put it up to his ear, but it works fucking incredible. So like, I can't really, even start to criticize that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the old school method of doing it, right? Is you don't go by, numbers, all the fancy schmancy power supplies and boxes, you know, old school cats didn't really care about that. They were like, yeah, it's whatever. I plug it in and I find out where it's running right that day, and that's where I run it. And doesn't really matter if it's, 5 volts or 10 volts or, whatever. It's if that's where it runs, that's where it runs, you know?
Yeah,
And it's like, that's awesome because every oil machine builder utilizes different things when they build, right?
absolutely.
They'll go through, and there are some builders that are out there and they'll use thicker or thinner gauge wire on their coils, to make their machines run at, say a specific voltage or within a specific set of voltage parameters. Or maybe they want to run it with lower amperage, or, they want, to put on a massive capacitor for some weird reason. Um, that's fine. There are different builders that do different things to get their machines to run the way that they want them to run, you know. But the voltage can be adjusted if, say, one of those builders goes through and uses, I don't know, say you have a builder that uses 26 or 28 AWG, which is American wire gauge, which is actually a thinner wire gauge than what's normally on most coils, which is 24 AWG. And they might do that because they realize that they can get more winds per turn, which is going to create a stronger magnet. And by creating a stronger magnet, you're going to have more downward force, right? Granted, it's going to take that electricity a little bit longer to travel through that much wire, right? So that might not be something that is conducive to what they're trying to do. But what will end up happening is you'll have to run that machine at a much higher voltage, right? It's going to take a lot lower amperage because the magnetic force is going to be a lot stronger, but you're going to have to run it at a much higher voltage. If you were doing the same number of layers, per coil, technically speaking, because there might be some people out there, and I used to have this discussion with people all the time, where it's like, well, yeah, but you can, instead of making an 8-layer coil or 8 wrap, air quotes, wrap, right? Coil, the technical term is layer, so keep that in mind. But instead of doing an 8-layer coil, maybe I'll just do a 6-layer coil, and then that way I can go through and that'll cut down on the voltage so that people don't have to run them at 12 volts. Well, that's fine. But now you're compromising the magnetic strength and the magnetic pull of that coil. As you can tell, I spent a bit of time studying and researching coil machines.
Just a day or two.
Well, I was always told that with anything that you do, you have to understand and know your tools, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying you need to know exactly how a socket wrench is made and the types of steel that go into the ball bearings of that socket wrench. But, to understand the way that your tools work is just going to save you time in the long run. And especially with how expensive our tools are, it makes sense. Now, a lot of the machines that we use in this day and age, a lot of these rotary machines and stuff like that, they're designed basically to be tamper-proof because they're super intricate. They are built with such small tolerances to everything that, say you crack open something like a Cheyenne, right? And you don't realize it, but there's a speck of dust that gets inside the casing and lodges itself in the cam, right? The offset cam. Well, that tiny little speck of dust can create friction, which can create heat, which can lead to your machine fucking dying. And I don't know about you, but my machines are expensive.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm not
want
trying
them
to chance it.
Exactly. I'm not buying, knockoffs. I'm not buying anything like that. My machines are crazy expensive, but they also last me quite a few years and they make their money back for sure. So I'm
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
I'm not super worried about that. I mean, they pay themselves off. But if you're spending that kind of money on a machine, right? Don't you want to kind of keep it running the best it can for as long as it can?
Right.
At least
Well, yeah, of
that's
course.
my
So
thought, because
the big issue that I've run into with I got the EXO from FK Irons, right?
yep,
And I come from a CNC and fabrication background with that too. So I would like to be able to service my own stuff, but I don't feel safe doing that because there's also not instructions on how to do said maintenance.
right. And the last thing you want to do is crack it open to try to fix something and end up breaking it even more, because then you're
Exactly.
really screwed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with the old
Completely.
school coil machines, I was always taught that, if it comes down to a broken spring, replace the spring yourself. If you have to, call the builder, ask them what they recommend to put on it, or see if they can send you a spring set for it. But a lot of these custom machines that are being, like coil machines that are being made, they've got custom cut springs for those machines, so it might not be that easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've got some pretty awesome machines, and I've got machines from lots of different builders, and I can tell you for a fact there are certain builders out there that do have custom springs that go to their machines. You can try to put on a standard machine or a standard spring on their machine, and it's never going to tune in the way that it was. But if it comes down to it, yeah, buy a $3 part instead of buying a $500 new machine, right? Now, that does take understanding your equipment a little bit more, and it does take a little bit of the, I don't know, for lack of a better term, the reliability on builders building a machine that's going to work perfectly for the next 20 years. It does take a little bit out from that. But if you're buying from a builder that really knows what they're doing and you don't mess with the machine at all, in any way, and you learn how to use that machine the way that it was built and tuned, then you're gravy, and it's going to work beautifully for 10 years, 15 years, whatever. You might wear a hole in the front spring before you ever snap the back spring. But once again, that's also if you are smart and you decide not to mess with your machines. Lord knows I have made some very expensive mistakes when it comes to coils. And just ended up basically fouling them up to the point that they were unusable. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, tried to fix it myself. Sorry, but yeah, you know this machine better than I do since you originally built it. Can you take a look at it for me? Maybe it's a matter of pride or whatever, but yeah, with these new rotaries, man, they're effortless. And I've got the FK Irons XO as well. I did make that purchase, and I've got that in 4mm, which is a beast of a machine.
Yeah, I love that thing, dude. It works so fucking good for me.
Though I'll be honest with you, I got the XO pretty shortly after it first came out. And if you look at where the actual drive bar comes down to connect to the cartridge, it still actually says flux. And that bothered me. Yeah. Because the XO is the exact same thing as a flux. The difference is that the XO came with an RCA connection that was optional that you could screw on to the battery terminal where that usually goes. It came with the RCA connection and a bigger grip. Literally, that is the only difference between that and the flux, which also came in 4mm.
It's funny you say that too, because I've had some conversations with friends where it's like they look like the same machine, just with different housing. Like it's the same motor, same everything, just different housing. And now that it's with the battery stuff, it's like, I mean, I feel like the machines are pretty close in pricing anyway. So really, like, does it really matter at the same time? But I feel like if you already have a flux and you're trying to get an XO to get a different machine, it kind of just defeated the whole point, because then it has all the flux stuff.
And I've made that comment to FK Irons on their posts and their live streams and all that stuff quite a few times. And FK Irons, if anyone out there is listening from FK, I apologize for being that annoying dude. But like, I get it. Maybe your company needs more money. Maybe you're trying to maintain a profit margin. Maybe someone's kid has to go to college. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. You can release all of the machines that you want, and you can release them in limited edition colors and all types of other stuff. It's still the same machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing that sucks about like the custom colorways too is they only do one stroke. If it was like, for me, I got 3 XOs in 3 different strokes, and I'd like to be able to distinguish one from the other.
Right.
But when they do the custom colorways, it's only in the 4.0s as far as I've been able to catch on to, which is unfortunate.
Oh, I'm not surprised. And it's like, cool, you have an R2D2 colored machine. Great.
I don't really care
but
about
like
that
you're
personally.
slacking on so many other departments, right? Like their disposable grips for the flux. I think they just came out last year, right? And people were hounding them for years for disposable grips for the Flux. And I remember making a comment which appropriately got deleted from FK Iron's Instagram page. I remember making a comment on one of their posts saying, hey, we get it. You can make the same machine in new colors. That's awesome. But like, where are the disposable grips you've been saying have been coming out for the past 4 years? You know, where's the stuff that you promised us that we really want? Because like, maybe we don't really need a 15th limited edition color scheme for the Flux. Maybe we don't need, 32 different color variations for the EXO. It's nice to have them, like you said, if you were going to buy multiple machines, to be able to keep them separated. I get that. I understand that.
But that's really where it ends, though. That's really the only reason you would have a different colored machine is so you could distinguish them, unless you just want some fancy machine to write off, right?
Right. Which is, I mean, if you're going to write it off as a business expense, that's fine. But I just pray that IRS doesn't come looking for, to make sure that that machine broke down and, they don't come by and see that it's still in a sealed box, because that would suck.
Yeah. No, I originally bought the EXO because I saw it as I'm buying a new machine to get something better, right? And
Right.
with them having the software updates and all of that, whether I use Give or not is a different story. But I saw it as the machine is going to consistently get better, whereas it's just consistently stayed a nice machine, which I'm not complaining about in any way, shape, or form. But I thought with the updates, maybe there'd be something else coming in for the older batteries rather
No.
than just coming out with new batteries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're trying to reinvent the wheel every time they come out with something new. And keep in mind, guys, I'm not bashing FK Irons by any means. They make some good stuff. I own plenty of their machines. I literally have spent quite a bit of money with them. I
And I
like their
will
stuff,
also,
and they're quality machines. There's nothing bad about them. I think it's
no, I,
more so the company practices that I'm not a fan of.
yeah, I love the machines, dude. I'll probably end up getting the Flux Max, honestly, because I really do love their machines, dude. But there's always room for criticism, always room for growth, dude, no matter whether
Right.
you're a big company or a small tattoo artist, right?
Absolutely true. And, it's like, that's cool. Get the Flux Max if you really want to.
I'm
I've been
kind of
in love
leaning
with
more
my
towards a
Cheyenne, though.
Numa.
Well, dude, I fell in love with my Cheyenne. I did. My Cheyenne Soul Nova Unlimited, the battery operated, the wireless one.
Hmm.
Dude, it's amazing. I've literally been using that for all of my color, all of my black and gray, even some of my lines. I started really getting into using it for lines as well. It's got a shorter stroke than what I was used to with my Solterra, which I'm using right now. But, it's, to me, it's just a much better investment.
So the thing that really deterred me was the not being able to see what number you're really at for the
So,
voltage.
and I get that. I do. They do have a voltage chart out there to tell you if you tilt it this many degrees, it's going to be this voltage. If you tilt it this many degrees, it's going to be that voltage. So they do have that chart out there. If you really needed to reference it, you can do that. But once again, this all comes back to like, I don't know, maybe me just coming up with coils, because I never really cared what voltage I was running my machines on. It's like, does
Yeah.
it run where I need it to run? Oh, my whip shades are a little choppy. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up a bit. Oh, this is a little bit hitting a little bit too hard. Okay, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit, which actually is converse, because if you're working with rotaries, the slower you run them, the more torque they have. Just for anyone out there that might be interested, it's true. But
Which
it's
is
like,
actually a great tidbit of information because I've had that stick in the back of my head ever since you said that.
yep, it is the 100% fact. If you are running a rotary machine, and it does not matter what rotary machine it is, it does not matter if you got it off of Amazon, it does not matter if you spent $18,000 for it. And it's one of those super limited edition one-off color schemes from FK Irons, right? Which is the same thing as the $600 machine, but hey, it's in a cool color, so we're going to triple the price, right? If that's what you got, cool, that's fine. But it does not matter what rotary machine you are running. If your machine is not hitting as hard as you need it to, slow your machine down, lower the voltage, slow your hand speed down, and make sure that there is no give on it. I know some people out there that were actually struggling using the FK Iron Zion. They were like, dude, I can never put in a solid line. And it's like, you can. I know you can because I can, right? And I'm using the exact same machine. Here's what's different. I don't have any give on it, right? And they're like, oh, well, I just think it's going to be a lot more gentle for people's skin. Why? It's going to take you longer to do the tattoo.
I honestly never use the give function ever.
Yeah. It's like,
maybe
why?
with old people, but that's really it. Because I feel like it's too assuming of the situation compared to what I was expecting. I don't know if that makes sense.
What I have personally found in everything that I do, once again, this is just me, okay? But what I have personally found is that if I'm doing a tattoo, that tattoo is going to hurt the person who's getting it done, okay? Now, if I use the give, it's going to take me longer, and that's going to continuously put that client in pain. I don't know about any of you guys out there that might be listening. I don't like the fact that I have to hurt people for a living. I'm not a sadist. I'm not. I wish it weren't true, but it is. I do not enjoy the fact that tattoos hurt. And they do. And it doesn't matter who you are. There is a level of discomfort associated with getting tattooed. Now, if I can do the same tattoo and have it done in half the time, even if it hurts my client a little bit more, but if it's done in half the time, that's the method I'm going to go with. Because otherwise, you're just prolonging and dragging that process out.
Yeah,
now,
I agree.
Yes, there may be certain techniques that involve going a little bit lighter or using a little bit more of a give where that can be helpful. Yes, that is correct. There are certain techniques that are out there that, okay, I can see it. I can see how that can be useful, right? But overall, using those techniques, it's going to make things last a lot longer. Why take 8 hours to do a tattoo when theoretically you could have it done in 4? I mean, I guess if you're trying to run the clock up on people, that's fine. But that to me is just kind of a grimy thing to do.
Yeah. I'm all about reducing pain myself. I've tattooed myself a lot to try and make sure that I'm not grilling people as best as I can, because I've had some heavy-handed artists that were just like, wow, like, fuck you, dude. What did I ever do to you?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are certain techniques that are out there, and I boil a lot of it down to technique, right? Different artists have different techniques and different ways that they apply pigment. That is the nature of the beast. Note you can give 100 different artists the same paintbrush and see them use it in 100 different ways, right? Doesn't mean that the paintbrush is no good. It means that the artist themselves has not adapted to it. But I digress. It's like, I don't know. To me, I'm more about efficiency. The tattoo is going to hurt regardless. Yes, I'm going to try to minimize discomfort as best I can. But at the end of the day, it's still not going to be comfortable. It's still not going to be a pleasant experience. So if I can speed that process up and really move through it a bit faster, I will.
Why not?
And there are different artists out there that use techniques that may be a bit more painful, or maybe they're a little bit less painful, but it takes them a little bit longer. And this is why I love going to conventions, by the way, FYI, because you get to watch everyone's technique and see what they're doing and watch their rate of work, which I always find very interesting. You know, especially if you're getting like a sensitive area done, say your rib cage, or I don't know, the backs of your knees or something. I want to pick an artist that's going to be quick. Okay. Great. You can do it with, running your machine slower and it's going to be a little bit more gentle, but like getting that spot tattooed is going to suck regardless. So get it done and get it over with quickly, please.
And totally empathize with that.
Yeah. And that's why I've gotten worked on by more than a handful of people, on sensitive areas. And the ones that I was always the most impressed with were the ones that were really, really quick and efficient. They got it in, they did what they had to do, and they moved on. Those were, ironically, also the tattoos I healed up the best from.
Well, you're traumatizing the skin less. I feel like if you know how to apply it better, quicker, and all of that, it just traumatizes less. It heals better.
Absolutely. So, but I boil it all down to technique, because you can give 3 different artists the exact same machine. Yes, some techniques hurt more. Some techniques hurt less. But are they working at an efficient rate of tattoo?
Yeah, I have a buddy on the East Coast. He said he goes, people always ask me if I'm light-handed, and I tell them no, because what I'm doing, it doesn't make sense to be light-handed. It makes sense to just be heavy-handed, get it in there in one pass instead of going over you 3-4 times.
Exactly. And that's essentially exactly what I try to do with every tattoo. Granted, there are some times when, I want to make another pass, or, maybe something didn't heal up, quite as dark as it should have. Fine, not a problem. Sit down. Let's go back over this. I'll hit it again. But I try to do it quickly, efficiently. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. But you know what? That tattoo is going to be done and you're going to be out the door. That pain stops when I lift my machine up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's like I'm trying to find that middle ground between making it more comfortable and making it efficient at the same time, which I feel like is something we're all looking for our entire career, right?
Sure. I mean, I gave up on client comfort. I keep my clients as comfortable as I possibly can. I do. But at the end of the day, it's still a tattoo.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that. You are still having trauma inflicted upon your skin. And that's not going to be fun. So I switched over my mentality. I stopped necessarily worrying about whether or not, my client was, in a lot of pain during the tattoo. And just focused on making them comfortable and trying to distract them as much as I could.
Well, and that goes into the client comfort part of things that I was saying too. It doesn't have to go down to just the tattooing process. It's everything else surrounding it, because there's so many ways that we can accommodate them and make them comfortable, right?
Right. There's even an artist that will actually put his soap bottles on a little like hot plate to warm it up, right? Because he's found that that makes clients feel a bit more
That's adorable.
yeah. And I was like, dude, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Like it's the little comforts like that, or like putting on relaxing music. I tell people all the time when they come in to get tattooed for a consultation, to just like talk about what they want to get done. I have classical music playing. Now, when you walk into most tattoo studios, you're not thinking about Mozart. You're not thinking about Tchaikovsky or Wagner or anyone like that. You're probably thinking, okay, I'm going to walk into this tattoo studio and there's going to be like crazy metal playing or like, gangster rap and stuff like that. Maybe I'll have on some opera. Maybe I'll put some opera on, or show tunes, or Frank Sinatra's always a good one to go to.
Miles Davis is like my go-to guy for that.
Miles Davis is another good one. But that's, I try to separate myself out that way. And it works well. It does. But, it's the little things like that that can really make or break everything, in my opinion, humble opinion.
Absolutely. I've had a bunch of times where I'm playing like lo-fi or something like that, and people are like, dude, I'm so relaxed. Like, this has made this so simple.
Well, it's also something that I've looked into. I try to put on, anytime I've got a client coming in for a large scale piece, by large scale, full sleeves, back pieces, whatever. I'll go through and I'll make sure that they listen to music, and I'll put on music specifically that has 0 lyrics, because it's a lot less distracting.
What I've started doing is just bringing headphones that I wipe down after every person, like over the ear headphones. And I'm like, hey, if you want to listen to headphones, I have agreeable music typically playing. But if you don't like what's playing, play what you want. Watch a movie, do whatever you want, man.
I actually keep I bought a used iPad off of someone that's, a bit older. They had upgraded, and I keep that at the studio at all times. I've got like all different streaming services hooked up to it. I've got it automatically synced to Bluetooth headphones, which are there for clients specifically to use. They get wiped down, they get, cleaned after every use. And that is specifically for client use only. I don't use that. I don't take them home. I don't use that for anything else. That stays at the studio for clients to use.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a really nice thing, because I know that me personally, I'm not always the most talkative person, especially if I'm tattooing somebody. I'm trying to give them the best product possible. I'm trying to really focus on what they're hiring me for, right?
Right, because at the end of the day, they're paying you for a good tattoo.
Yeah. And how do you get known for good tattoos?
By doing good tattoos.
By doing good tattoos. So once I heard that, it was like, well, that's just like fucking common sense. But man, what a great thing to live by, though. If you can there's that other saying that I saw on, I think it was like healed versus fresh, where it's like, pack it like you mean it.
Yeah. Which is very, very, very true. Pack it like you mean it. Put it in there.
And sometimes that means going a little bit slower.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. Slow your hand speed down. That is the number one thing I find that a lot of artists don't really tend to focus on. And anyone that's out there that might be struggling with applying any tattoo in any fashion, slow your hand down. You would be surprised at how much easier and how much better things go if you just slow down and take your time. It's very, very counterintuitive. But I'm telling you, if you slow your hand speed down, you will produce better work faster than you ever thought possible.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because I mean, at the end of the day, too, slowing down isn't the worst thing in the world because people are coming to us for something permanent on their body. And I mean, taking fucking 10 minutes longer isn't really that big of a deal, right? It doesn't stop us from doing the next fucking simple walk in, the next
Absolutely.
infinity symbol.
What I found is that when I started to really focus on slowing my hand speed down and taking my time, and at the same time slowing my machine speed down as well, when I started combining those three things, it was like I was a completely different person.
Yeah.
I was producing better quality work in a fraction of the time I used to. And I was like, wait a second, what kind of magic formula is this?
Sorcery.
Now, question for you, Patrick.
Yeah,
Do you adjust your voltage at all between lining and shading?
absolutely. It also depends on the type of skin that I'm tattooing because I'll run my liner anywhere from 7 volts to 9 volts on my 4.0. But my shading, I'm pretty much right all around 5 to 6. I try and hang it out as little as possible. I'm obsessed with those fucking smooth gradients. Absolutely obsessed with them.
See, I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Um, I found that if I keep my machine speed the exact same between lining and shading, I don't know. I find that I can just move at a little bit of a different pace.
I feel like I end up getting inconsistencies that really bother me, and I end up going back into it where if I would have just slowed it down and taken my time, I would have done it better personally. Because I've tried running like my shader at 7, 7.5, and even then I feel like it could be too abrasive. I guess I don't know if I'm using the right word,
No,
but
that makes sense. Too aggressive, causing too
yeah,
much skin trauma.
yeah, like I feel like when I'm going back into things, it's super fucking red and just making it more difficult than it really needs to be. And I'd rather be slower than faster. I'm not really worried about getting in the next person if the tattoo I'm focusing on is fucking dog shit or something,
Right. That makes
subjectively
sense.
speaking.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm open minded to whatever though. Like even when I was just up doing my guest spot in Chattanooga, me and my buddy were talking about like microscopic swelling and why you should do lining after your shading because trying to get your shading up next to that line perfectly is way harder with that microscopic swelling than it is without it. And that actually came from me talking about how you do your outline last with painting
Mostly,
stuff.
yeah, mostly on paintings. Yes.
Yeah, with painting stuff. And he was like, well, I actually do that with tattooing. I was like, interesting. So then we ended up getting into that conversation. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, some people do. And I know a guy, he works in the area, phenomenal tattoo artist, won plenty of awards and everything, very well respected, quality work. And he always does his outlines during the last session. During the first session, especially for something large scale, he'll lay in some gray lines, just so that he doesn't lose his stencil and he knows where he's going for the next time. But for the most part, he saves all of his hard black outlines for the last session.
I can totally see that though, because I mean, like, to me, it makes sense. If you're doing a back piece and it's super complicated, you just gray line it. You don't want to have a hard line where you're going to be doing some soft shading or something. So I feel like that comes with the natural planning of the piece too, when you start like breaking it down in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with the back piece that I'm working on in Milwaukee right now, it's all just gray lined. That's it right now.
Yep.
And we'll work in every little bit of piece, every little bit in piece as we get into it. And then I have, yeah, so I'm trying to go about all these different ways because I mean, like, I just started my third year of tattooing. I'm still so new to this stuff, dude. I'm trying to stay open minded to absolutely fucking everything.
I always find it to be absolutely crazy because, like, both being as a tattoo artist and being around and having seen some stuff, it's like just when you think you've got it all figured out, right? Just when you think for a fact, okay, I know that this works for me, and I know that this is like, the best way that I've found to do things, right? Um, this has got to be the way that, is going to be the best for everything. Next thing you know, you attend a show and you see a guy doing the total opposite, getting fantastic results and turning around and enlightening you to something that you never even thought of.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
the best thing about art, man.
And then you're like, but I thought I had it all figured out.
Never got art figured out, dude. That is
No.
something you can never fucking master. Even if you're like, I only draw roses, there's 3 million ways to draw the same rose.
Absolutely. Oh, I did want to do a pretty quick. Sorry, I completely forgot to do this when I first started. I did want to do a pretty quick shout out and a very quick kind of like questionnaire. And this goes to anyone out there that might be watching this now or later. I'm trying to get an art exhibition put together for back piece paintings or drawings or whatever. Okay. There was a show that was put on many years ago out in California called Suits Made to Fit. It was put on by the New School Collective, and it was a whole exhibition of bodysuit paintings and art that were drawn and painted by tattoo artists. They were, from what I understand, they were all up for grabs and stuff like that. But it was concept art for large scale tattooing, right? All back pieces or full body suits or, full frontals or whatever. But what I'm considering doing is putting together an art show for tattoo artists by tattoo artists dealing with the same kind of concept. Okay. Going through reaching out to some artists that I know. I've already started reaching out to one or two people, just trying to get an idea of like generalized interest if people would be interested in doing it. Simply because to create a work of art that large, it's going to take a while, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be happening overnight. This isn't going to be happening, anytime in the immediate future. But it's an idea I've been playing around with and like trying to figure out gallery spaces and where we could host the exhibition, to maximize attendance, maximize exposure, to really help bring some of this stuff into light again. And because it was done out in Southern California originally, and it wasn't originally done on the East Coast, I think it would be really awesome to see what people on the East Coast come up with.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the artists that participated for the one in Southern California were West Coast artists. And I'm not saying they didn't still have like traditional stuff, and I'm not saying they didn't still have everything from biomech to Japanese, but like I'm just interested to see what people on the East Coast come up. And I think it would be fascinating.
I mean, it's like two different cultures though. East Coast, West Coast, two completely different beasts, So I think that would be really cool.
Well, it's just different ways of looking at the same thing,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's something that I'm playing around with that idea. If it generates enough interest and I get enough people that, confirm and say, hey, I'm in, what do I need to do or what's the next steps or whatever. Obviously, once I figure out venue space and how I can go about what, well, essentially where I decide to put it on. That's going to ultimately determine how many pieces I can have up, as well as, what else is going to be going on with it. But I think it would be a great time and a great reason to get a whole bunch of tattooers together to really just talk about fine art and, how tattooing is a form of fine art. Maybe we'll even get some art students there that might be curious about it. I think that would be pretty cool. But
I'm entirely with it. So if you end up making that happen, man, just keep me posted. I'm going to be living in Chattanooga as of July, so I'm not going to be all but 12 hours away.
So, and that's something that, obviously we can talk a little bit more about it offline, but,
Yeah.
I'm thinking if I provide, maybe a 30 by 60 piece of paper, with a rough sketch, standardized like bodysuit layout on it. That way everyone's got like the same image they're working off of, but it's going to be done in like super light pencil. So that way everyone can go outside the bounds. Nothing's going to be like hard set, but just to see what people come up with,
Yeah.
if everyone's working off a standardized template or a standardized design, what direction is everyone going to be taking things? Are people, there's going to be people working outside the boundaries. There's going to be people working strictly inside the boundaries. There are going to be people using decorative motifs and frames. And that's cool, but it's something I've always been curious about. And I've had this idea literally in my head for about 10 years. So
I feel like it's like the biggest collaboration piece you could possibly have, right?
well, it is. It is. And not necessarily having multiple artists collaborate on one work of
No,
art.
no. Just like we're all collaborating on the same idea, though. Collaboration doesn't have to be on the same piece, just like coming together with your, with how you see things, your
Absolutely.
perspectives, your opinions.
So that's an idea that was forming. So call to artists. If you're interested, let me know. Mike Cole made a comment on the YouTube. We do a lot of stand-up comedy and adult cartoons during the day at the shop. Maybe you could attach that art show you're talking about to an East Coast convention. I've thought about that. And, kind of coming up with maybe talking to someone that runs like the Philly show or the Baltimore show, or maybe a show out in New York or New Jersey. Just seeing what's around and what's available. I was considering that. I don't know if anyone might bite on it, but at the same time, that show would only be around and would only be up for as long as that convention was going on. And I was looking for something that maybe it would stay up a little bit longer, maybe a month or so. So that people that might be interested in purchasing the artwork would actually have the opportunity to go through and purchase it, and it would be available. Well, I mean, I guess I could always make prints. That could work too. But all of the artists that would be considered to participate, unfortunately, at this time, I don't make any money off of ideas and projects like this. So I wouldn't really be able to pay them for the artwork. But what I could offer them is a limited set of prints for whatever artwork they produce. I was thinking about that as kind of like an artist incentive.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or getting like a whole print portfolio together for all of the attending artists, that submit a piece, going through, scanning them all, putting together the portfolio, the print portfolio, and then giving everyone a full set of prints from the show. Obviously, if they choose to sell their artwork, they can. That's awesome. By all means, go through, do it, make that money. But if they choose not to, we can always talk about doing prints for them. That can work. Just something to compensate the artist for their time, because I know from experience how time consuming doing something that's, say 30 inches by 60 inches can be. I've painted stuff like that before. So I've got, a couple of little shortcuts I can use. But for most artists that are out there, especially ones that tend to be very detail oriented, even just planning something that big can be kind of a daunting task. So, finding some way to compensate the artist for their time would definitely be something that I would be interested in doing.
And I feel like we would pull in more people too.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, even looking at this is like probably like 36 by 24 or something. I've been working on it for like 3 months on and off.
Right. Yeah, man, you've been plugging away at that one for a while. But dude, look at how amazing that's coming out.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. I just got a little bit more to go, right? I got some yellow up here. I got some little black cutbacks I got to do. But in general, this thing's going to be pretty fucking done pretty soon.
Hell yeah, man. Can't wait to see the finished piece.
Yeah, I have another piece that I did recently, but I found out I was using a dry water brush for the whole thing. So
Oh,
I think I'm going to go in and rework the entire painting. And it's actually bigger than this one. It was that leopard with the antelope one that I was doing.
yep. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So I'm probably going to go in and just completely rework that painting too.
Well, I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, I don't know if I showed you the finished product of that one. Well,
I don't think you did.
now.
But I mean, if it's something you want to wait to kind of show off until after you've reworked parts of it, it's totally fine. Not a big deal.
I'll probably have it in next Sunday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it'll
That'd
probably
be
be the
cool.
next thing that I'm working on, because I mean, even with this, dude, I've learned so much with this piece. It's absolutely insane. I never thought I'd be painting stuff like this ever in my entire fucking life.
Oh, dude, you should see some of the stuff that I started out doing years ago. And then looking at some of the stuff that I'm doing now, it's like, I'm going to take that one off the wall, and that's never going to see the light of day again. And
Yeah.
that one's going to come off the wall, and that one's going to get burned, because that does not look very good. At the time, I was proud of it, which is awesome.
So what I'm doing with a bunch of that stuff is, with my move, I'm going to be leaving the guy who taught me how to tattoo. So I'm going to leave him a bunch of my old pieces that I would throw away otherwise, because I figure it's kind of like a cool thing to have. Be like, well, this is what he was doing, and now you can look at what he is doing now.
Right. Yeah, I would say hold on to some of them just so that you can track your progress.
Absolutely.
You don't have to hold on to all of them, obviously, but
Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah, it's a nice way to track progress, and it's a nice way to kind of turn around and show people where you came from and what you started out doing. That's why I still have a lot of my stuff like that.
I have a whole obsolete folder on my Procreate of old designs that I do not want to touch and do not want to tattoo. But
Right?
I'll go in there and I'll grab them and I'll fucking redesign them with all the stuff that I've learned now. And some of them I'm using again, just not the way they were.
Yeah. Sometimes all it takes is just going through and taking the same idea and concept and applying the new skills that you've learned to it.
Absolutely. Like, I got 3 sheets of shark designs. So probably like 25, 30 shark designs. I got to go through, redesign all of them.
Well, yeah, but just think about it when it's done. You're going to be like the shark king.
Well, the whole reason I came up with them was for Shark Week. I was like, I'm going to do a Shark Week flash special. Like, if people want to come in and get sharks, I'll give them a fucking deal.
Right. Makes sense. Do we know when Shark Week is this year?
I don't, but I have a computer in front of me.
Oh,
July 11th to the 18th.
okay,
So
cool.
it's
So I
coming
have
up.
some
It'll
time.
be pretty soon. Yeah, it's coming up, but we got some time, at least a month.
That's like a week after I get back from Amsterdam.
That's gonna be fun as hell, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be weird though, because like it's going to be the first actual vacation I've taken that's not in any way, shape, or form tattoo related in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, I feel like that would be really hard to do because our lives are so centered around doing that kind of shit in general.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, before it used to be like, oh, I want to take a vacation. Cool. Let me see what conventions are going on and where do I want to go? You know, that was immediately where my mind went
Yeah.
every single time without fail, without hesitation. It was like, cool, let's see what shows are going on over there. Um, and my original concept behind that was, well, I love going to tattoo conventions. So even if nothing else on the trip goes right, at least I know I can go to the tattoo convention and have an absolute blast.
Absolutely.
Right. So that I kind of built it in as a failsafe. And then it just became like, oh, well, I really want to go and check out this show. Okay, cool. Let's go take a look at, you know, the show out in London or the Paris show or the one in Rome or wherever.
Dude, that sounds so cool though. Like going over to Europe to tattoo. That's like definitely something that I want to end up doing. I've never been to Europe in the first place. I've never even tattooed at a convention.
It's intimidating to say the least, especially when you get over there and you start to see some big dogs in Europe and you're just like, shit, I am not worthy to breathe the same air right now. Like, I'm going to go humble myself in a corner. And then you stop and you realize that everyone that's there is doing the exact same thing that you do, only differently. So why not learn something?
And I've always seen it this way, dude. Like we're all just normal people trying to get through life, and some people just end up being a little bit more talented at something than others, right?
Well, I
So,
think some of it has to do with talent, but some of it also has to do with work ethic, right?
well, for sure. Absolutely. I cannot disagree with that at all.
In that case, you know, just going based on that's kind of the way I see stuff. It's like, damn, this guy put in the work. Let me go talk to him about, you know, like what it is he's doing and what is he doing differently than I am. Like, because
No, I completely get that
yeah,
because I even do that with you, dude.
I
So
know,
I
I
get
know. And
it.
it's but that's how you get better.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You can't. So I like the other quote of a closed mouth don't get fed, right?
True. Very, very true.
Dude, that neutral color call was definitely the play with this shit though. Look how that red is just like popping
Yep.
compared to the fucking
Well, and especially because you have the red in the foreground, right? And that immediately makes that move forward far more than if it was in the background.
yeah, yeah.
Warmer colors always move forward in space, where cooler colors always move backwards.
Okay. I did not know that. That sounds like a cool way to put it. I mean, it makes sense. I use like tans, grays, blues, really cool colors in the background more typically than anything. And I always use warm colors to bring everything up.
Right. And there's a reason why.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. That was something that I picked up when I was in college in a color theory class. And I
That's
was like, that's not true. And he gave us an assignment, and I was like, oh, damn, it is true.
no, that's cool. That actually makes a lot of sense. So I got kicked out of every art class I was ever in, besides like maybe two or three through like elementary to Well, let's say from middle school through high school, I got kicked out of every single art class except for 2. So
Really?
I never really got to explore stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, it was always a struggle for me, especially if I didn't understand like what it was we were supposed to be learning. It's like, well, that's cool and all, but how is this going to help me do tattoos better? Right? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of where my mind was throughout all of college. And it's like, all right, well, I'll trust you on this and we'll see where it goes. And sure enough, a lot of the stuff that I learned when I went to art school has transferred over into the world of tattooing.
Yeah, they wanted me to do like the 3D sculpting that the school district makes them put on kids, and I wasn't with it. I wanted to like actually further myself with my artistry. And I didn't see that being the way because sculpting was not my thing. Paper mache made me want to drown myself in a used toilet. So
Ew.
I was just like, well, I mean, if I have to do this, I'll just go to the fucking office because I'm not going to do this shit. Which is unfortunate because now I'm going, well, I wish I would have just experienced that stuff because now I'm going, I want to do linoleum cutting. I want to do a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, and it all builds off of each other. It
Yeah.
really does. So part of my college curriculum, I was forced to take printmaking classes, and
Ah,
so I did etching, I did lithography, stone lithography, I did monotypes, I did copper plate etchings, I did relief printmaking. So I was forced to experience all of that digital printmaking, but I took that as a separate class as my secondary printmaking class. Um, but what I found is that there were a lot of similarities to a lot of things in the tattoo world and a lot of other forms of art. It all depends on how open-minded you are to begin with, and are you going to seek out the useful information in order to further what it is you want to do and find the parallels between the things that you want to do and the things that you have to do. Because if
yeah.
you're not willing to sit back and find those parallels, then it's going to be an uphill battle.
Well, I mean, if you're going in somewhere trying to learn and you don't want to learn, you're just going to be fucking hurting yourself the whole time. It's like going in and lying to the doctor. It ain't going to do you any fucking help,
Right.
do you any favors. That's what I was looking for.
But I mean, even if they were to turn around and say you wanted to learn how to tattoo in college, um, I didn't necessarily go through and say, oh, well, this isn't what I want to learn. It was, okay, let's see what kind of little tidbits I can get out of this to see if that's going to help me tattoo better in the long run. So I would always try to find the parallel somewhere with tattoo, because there's parallels in everything. Look at cooking and cooking preparation, right? There's parallels to tattooing. Um,
Absolutely.
Look at mechanics, auto mechanics. There are parallels to tattooing, even in something as obscure as being an auto mechanic. There are
Yeah.
certain things that will be parallel, guaranteed.
Even CNC machining, all of that. You can find it anywhere
Absolutely.
you're looking for it.
So I always try to challenge people and say, okay, cool. So how can this help you achieve that goal? How can this help you become a better tattoo artist? Going and taking a non-credit oil painting class at a university in the evenings, awesome. Do it, because you're going to find a parallel somewhere. You're going to find something that is going to help you get to that next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I mean, that's one thing that I regret about my grade school schooling experience was I didn't take advantage of some of the things that I probably should have, but I also had no fucking clue I should have. So I can't really beat myself up about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're a lot younger, And at that age, it's tough to have that kind of foresight to take advantage of things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always, in all honesty, though, I always find people like you and I that understand and know what our purpose in life is. To me, it just makes us the luckiest people in the world because we actually know what it is we want to do and we're taking the steps to get there.
Some
I
people
can't
never
tell
get that,
you
man.
exactly. I can't tell you how many people I know that are still trying to figure out what it is they want to do with their lives. And they're in their early 40s, late 30s, and they're like, yeah, I still have no idea. And it's like, well, if I were you, I'd get on that and try to figure it out so you can actually make something of your life. But I mean, for a lot of people that are out there, they don't know. And they don't even know where to start trying to figure it out. Where people like you and I, we're very, very lucky.
Yeah, it took me so long to get into the industry, dude. It's like, it was either, put a little vulnerability in this conversation. It was either fucking drug dealing or fucking tattooing, dude. And my cousin was a tattooer. He was supposed to take me on for so fucking long. It just never happened. I thought it was never going to happen. And once I finally got the option, it's like, I've just been chasing this shit with my entire fucking heart ever since I've had the chance, right?
Well, that's what you got to do, man. And believe it or not, I can tell you for a 100% fact that there were so many people that were in the exact same situation that have gone on to own major companies, supply companies, and otherwise, that have literally been in the exact same situation. So there is a parallel, not saying that,
It's a business
if you
parallel,
just,
dude. It's a business
it
parallel.
is.
It's all, how do you want to apply yourself, right? Because there's a lot of things that I can use from the illegal aspect of my life towards the legal aspect in, you know, uh respectable ways.
Right. And you know what? If you do them in the respectable ways, you're not risking jail time,
No.
which is nice.
Yeah,
Don't get
yeah.
me
I'd
wrong, you can
rather
probably pick up a whole bunch of clients if you get locked up, but
I have had that thought where it's like, well, if things ever do go bad, I guess I'll be okay inside, but I'm
yeah,
gonna do everything to make sure I'm not in that position, man. I've been given the tools to make sure that I keep being productive and I'm not going back. I'll tell you that for fucking sure.
yeah, I've been very fortunate in life that I've never been. Um, you know,
Which is
knock on
awesome,
wood.
dude.
Not that I do anything to put myself in that kind of a compromising situation, but I've been very fortunate in my life, and I know that.
I mean, even my cases that I've caught, dude, like they've pushed me in the direction that I've gone, and ultimately they've been the biggest blessing. Honestly, I'm not a religious person; I'm spiritual. But like, man, if I didn't go through the last case I went through, dude, I would not be where I am today. I'd probably be doing the same fucking bullshit. So I'm really, really thankful, dude. Life can always be worse, man.
It can, it can. We try to think positively in life, you know, but you're absolutely right. Life can get pretty shit pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
And especially as tattoo artists, we don't have like most of us don't have like, books filled anything. So it's like a fucking gamble every week of what's going to happen. But I'd rather be dealing with this gamble than any other gamble I was making in my life. I'll tell you that for fucking sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was having that discussion with someone the other week. They were like, "Oh my god, I love your work. How far out are you booked?" And I'm like, "What do you want? I can probably make some time next week." They're like, "Wait, really?" I was like, "Yeah." Like
I
I
feel like
I don't book out super far in advance for a reason.
I also feel like every person, so like being at a walk-in shop, every person calls and they're asking, making sure that we're able to take in their walk-in. And it's like everyone's expecting artists to be booked out. That's what they're expecting.
Hence reality TV.
Yeah. Yeah. And even some of those guys, I've listened to some fucking interviews with them and they're like, no, like I'm not that booked out. Like people just don't hit me up because I've been on TV.
Yeah.
They assume. And that's a completely different struggle, dude. I wouldn't even know where to start with dealing with that shit.
So, funny story. I was actually just out doing a presentation at a career day for a high school in Philadelphia. And I was actually asked by a couple of the, kids that I was presenting to if I would ever go on one of those shows, if I had ever been asked to, if I ever wanted to. And I said, well, I've never been asked, but I can tell you this, even if I was, I'd say no.
Yeah.
Because for
I've
me, I'm not about like the fame and glory. I just
no
want to do good tattoos and like share my knowledge with other people. That's it.
that literally where I'm at 100%, dude. It's like I don't give a shit about the attention. I didn't get into this for any type of attention. I hope I honestly don't get it because in that manner, in a TV manner, right? Because
Right,
that just
right.
sounds too much. It sounds overwhelming, dude. Like I couldn't even fucking imagine. There's this whole different level of pressure on you at that point, I feel.
Well, for me, it takes on a little bit of a different stroke. Like, I mean, obviously, I don't necessarily need like the media coverage or want the media coverage or anything. But at the same time, that's not in line with my goals, right? My
Yeah.
goals, and this is what my goals have been for since I was in high school. So over 20 years ago. Not that I'm super old or anything, but I mean, yeah, high school was about 20 years ago for me. Um, so I guess maybe I am old, but yeah, young at heart, right? But
I heard somebody say if you have wrinkles, you're old. And I say, fuck you, dude.
it's like who doesn't have wrinkles? Babies have wrinkles.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I
But keep
believe that.
going.
But it's like my goal has always been I don't necessarily need to be rich. I don't necessarily need to be famous. I just want to have the respect of my peers. I want to have the respect of other tattoo artists in the field that are doing awesome work. That's all and that's why I work so hard, you know, because I want to have that kind of respect. And that's it. I don't
And
mind if I struggle week to week. I'm fine with that. I don't mind if I'm not booked out for months and years in advance. That's fine. I just want the respect of other people that do tattoos. That's it.
I guess I have even a simpler thing. I just want to be happy, man. If respect comes with it, that's cool. That's always the goal, right? Is to have people be like, oh, you're fucking awesome. But at the end of the day, like we're falling asleep by ourselves, right? So I at least want to be happy with myself because that makes everything else a lot easier to deal with.
It does. You're correct in that. Um, I would say I personally would phrase it a little bit differently, but that's just semantics because I
Yeah,
understand
I was gonna
what you're
say
getting at.
I was gonna say, as long as you understand what I'm saying, that's good.
Yeah,
There's definitely a different way to phrase that shit because people could take what I just said into a lot of freedom, right?
right.
And that's not
Yeah,
really what
for
I'm meaning
me,
with it at all.
yeah, it's all semantics as far as that's concerned, but I understand the point you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like I agree with you, but without a bigger goal to strive for, like that's where I get hung up because I'm a naturally pretty happy person anyway, right? I mean, I could get a flat tire in the middle of a highway and I'd probably be like, oh, well, this will make for an interesting story, right? And that's just the way that I've always been. Um, so for me, it's a mindset thing. It's like always finding that silver lining in everything. I can do that. Even
I
in the
mean,
worst of situations, I'm capable of doing that. So for me, it was more about let me set the bar the next rung up and say, okay, cool. Because I know I'm going to be happy with whatever I achieve in life. Um, So for me, it's like, all right, I just want to earn that respect from other people that are pretty high up there to say, hey, you do some pretty sick work.
Well,
Like
yeah,
that's
that validation always feels good, right? Always feels good. I cannot take away from that, man, because at the same time, I would love to be accepted in all of that. You know, we all
right.
just want to be accepted, man. We're all very social creatures.
And it's a constant struggle. Or even to have someone turn around, and I actually had this happen not too long ago, and I was like, wait, what? Or wait, huh? Me? Just the validation from someone where they said, dude, you're doing it. You are kicking ass, you are taking names, you are active on all of these things, you were out there, you were going to different shows, you're getting your name out there, you're pushing the envelope, you're working your ass off, and it showed. And it's like, whoa, really? Like you're picking up on that? Because like I'm over here busting my ass in the dark on my days off, not really thinking a whole lot of people notice, but like this was coming from a guy that I think I've only spent maybe an hour with him in person. He lives in Georgia, and super awesome dude. He's not a tattoo artist, but he is a collector. And it was like one of the highest compliments I think I was ever paid. And I was like,
Just
holy shit. Like
man, just
I
being
was,
seen feels so good, man.
it
That's awesome.
does, but being seen for the right reasons too. Because I mean, come on,
Yes.
let's be
Yes.
honest here. We can all be seen,
Yes.
but some of us might not be seen for the right reasons.
No, completely agree with that. I had a guy recently he had his apprentices around. He's like, hey, well, he's here, fucking pick his brain, dude. Like he's a fucking killer artist. And just to hear that, it was like, wow, like I didn't, really fucking see it that way at all. So it's nice to get that little confirmation, right?
Absolutely. That little bit of validation and that little bit of confirmation to say, hey, you're doing things the right way. Sometimes that's all we need. And sometimes that can be what makes or breaks everything. So I
Absolutely.
always try to compliment people, always try to validate all of the hard work that they put into everything and to show them that, hey, you know what? I get it. You're busting your ass, dude, and it shows. And it doesn't go unnoticed.
And the positive side of things, when you were like, I tend to be a pretty positive person. So like to consider myself the same way. I mean, you have a
Oh,
little
I've noticed.
insight to what's going on right now with me. And man, I'm more excited about the future than I have been in a while, which is
Absolutely.
it's bittersweet, but man, it's for the fucking better, right?
Well, that goes back to the old adage that change is never pleasant, right?
Yes.
Change is very often extremely painful, never comfortable, and never fun. But that's what we need in order to grow.
Yes.
Okay. Because without that, we're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and it's not going anywhere. And
It's
if we're
called
not
insanity.
constantly growing, how are we ever going to realize our true potential?
Yeah. I completely agree, man. I mean, going through the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome is literally the definition of insanity.
That it
So,
is.
I mean, if AA taught me anything, that'd be one thing.
Well, it looks like we are getting close to that time. Um, just finishing up some of these little.
Yeah, I'm doing like the final finishing outline on this guy.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to add some like. I guess I probably will some darker little like water vent spots.
Yeah, I wish in Florida people came for waves like those. That'd
Yes.
be
Dude,
so cool.
these waves are what I live for, man. These Japanese style, like crashing finger waves. That's my stuff, man. It's what I love. I've literally been drawing waves since I can remember. Like these finger waves, it's all I used to try to draw in high school and college and everything like that. And it was like, it was always a struggle for me to try to pick apart the science behind them and like, oh, well, if I do this kind of rounded angle, I can get this kind of a look. And if I do like a sharper point here, it'll give me this kind of a look. And if I do like tiny little dark spots here and here, that'll give me like a little bit more of a look. You know, maybe that'll help push things in a different direction. But like, this is the kind of wave that, you know, I started out trying to draw, and I've drawn so many waves in my life that like I understand the science behind it now and I can break it down and I can be like, well, I didn't draw that one quite as well as this one, but it still looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million different ways to do the wave, right?
There are, but there are certain things that stay standard across the board with them. For
Yeah.
example, their structure and their weight, right? Because you don't want, say, this part down here by the knuckle, right? You don't want that to be this wide and have the rest of the body of the wave to be this skinny, because that's not going to look right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So structuring things correctly, giving them the right flow so that it all has that kind of motion where it's curling over and then breaking apart and spreading out. That was something that always used to throw me off because I was like, well, why does this one look better than that? Well, this one's got more movement. This one's got more direction. This one looks like it's water, you know, whereas some of the other ones that I used to draw, it was like, well, this one doesn't really have a direction. This one doesn't really have a flow. It doesn't really look like it's breaking apart in the right way or in the right angle in order to illustrate what it is I'm trying to illustrate.
Yeah.
So for me, figuring all that stuff out was quite the journey.
Absolutely, man.
But now I can freehand that stuff, and it's like finger waves. I got that for days. Give me a challenge. But I mean, it's something I love doing. I love their rhythm. I love their movement. I love, you know, the way that they just kind of go through and they can really help create motion in a piece, even if it's more of a static image.
Absolutely. I mean, even with like lettering, I'm all about letters dancing. And I feel like waves dancing is very similar.
Absolutely. It's a lot of the exact same kind of concept. It's creating that movement and that rhythm to go through and make the piece flow and make the piece travel and create that, for lack of a better term, that sense of motion in something that has no motion.
And it was funny when I was like first looking at waves and I was like, dude, how the fuck did they get finger waves? And I was just all stoned at the beach and I was like, oh, that's how they got finger waves, just like staring at the waves.
Oh, dude, I love doing that. I get mesmerized sometimes. I'll even do that with like, so I've got an Apple TV at home, and they've got one of the screensavers, which is a crashing wave in California, right? But it's an underwater shot. So you're literally looking up at this wave to the surface of the wave as it's crashing. And I'll just sit there and watch that sometimes for hours and just like, okay, here's this part, here's this structure, here's what's going on. Oh, that's a really cool shape. That made a really, really awesome kind of like, you know, kind of flamey cloud kind of look. You know, maybe I should start throwing that in the background, or maybe I can incorporate some of that texture into something, you know, because that would be super awesome. You know, so it's just always, it to me, studying subject matter of what you're trying to achieve is key. But you already know that. So,
Absolutely, man. But people that are watching, listening, whatever, they may not, dude.
yeah. Study what it is you're tattooing. You got someone coming in for a Neptune tattoo or a Poseidon tattoo, do your homework. Understand the differences between them and understand what their characteristics are, why they are the way that they are, and then start, figuring out different things that you can add to that to make it super awesome and to make it different.
Yeah, even when like the back piece I was talking about earlier, I'm doing a Komodo dragon fighting a black eagle. I did some research to
Nice.
make sure that I was doing some correct flowers with it, right? And the only place that battle could be happening is in Indonesia.
Correct.
So I started looking at the flowers there and I found out they had the corpse flower. And I was like, well, that's a super cool flower that looks ugly as
Yes.
fuck, but it's just so cool and full of texture, right? So I ended up going with that. And it was like, all right, so how does the corpse flower live? It's a parasitic flower. Okay, it could be on tree branches, vines, whatever. So then I just started going from there and it helped create the whole thing, just having a little bit of knowledge about the thing that I was designing.
Right.
And then it makes it real, it makes it legit because you don't want to have some animals in Indonesia fighting with German flowers. That shit
Right.
makes no fucking sense.
Or like English roses. Really? Really? When did Komodo dragons and English roses become synonymous?
Over in the museum, where the Komodo dragon was mummified.
Well, yeah, that would be about the only place.
But no, I think it just brings it together, right? The whole making a story out of your tattoo. I think that's so fucking cool.
Absolutely, man. Give it an emotion, give it a story, make people ask questions. That's my favorite thing to do now, by the way, is like if I'm designing a big piece, I don't just want people to look at it and be like, oh, that's a cool piece. I want them to stand back and be like, okay, what's going on here? What happened to this lady to give her that emotion, or what happened, to create this kind of a scene. I recently finished a samurai tiger sleeve, right? And it's like, okay, well, I wanted to create a narrative with the sleeve. So instead of just doing like tiger at the bottom, fading into a samurai, I was like, let's have the samurai defending himself from the tiger, like the tiger's attacking him, right?
Fuck yeah.
Because that gives it a much stronger narrative and it gives it a much better kind of storyline than just
And
like,
even
I don't know.
I was gonna say, even the people that are coming in for tattoos where they're like, I need this to have this deep meaning. Sometimes having the story, I feel, can give them the meaning because they can apply it towards their own life and the way that they want to. Being like, I'm the
Exactly.
samurai protecting myself from the tiger.
Absolutely, man.
Be like
And sometimes that can be a selling point for other artists that are listening. That can be a major selling point. If you're trying to sell larger work, like larger multi-session pieces, create a strong narrative in the piece and you'll sell more stuff. Because then you can be like, oh, well, what are you trying to express with this tattoo? Like, give me an emotion, like overcoming, a difficulty or, whatever. Cool. Let me show you this. It's got the same kind of theme around it. Maybe it's up your alley, maybe not, but, it's a shot. And you would be surprised at how, if you have the right kind of theme to what it is you design, people will fall in love with it over and over and over again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been one of my biggest selling points as a new artist. I've just been like trying to push all these designs where I'm trying to figure out where I want to go, right? I know I want to tattoo animals, but tattooing animals isn't always enough. You got to have a little bit more. So having that story, like we were saying, that shit helps immensely, dude. Because even with this one, I could make up some bullshit, it's
Right.
it's a fucking peccary being eaten by a hyena, and it's like I'm devouring life because I'm fucking killing it,
Right. Well, I mean, To me, it comes down to, yeah, it's actually something I picked up in art school. A lot of times the artist statements and the meanings behind a lot of the works of art produced, sometimes those come after the work of art has been produced. You know,
Absolutely.
and I've seen it happen. Like firsthand basis, I have seen art students turn around and be like, here's my final project, and say, okay, tell us about it. And they'll just make up some bullshit on the spot and it gets an A. You know, whereas if they were to have gone through and come up with the concept or the motivation for it initially, it would have taken them 4 times longer to produce the piece.
Absolutely, dude. It's kind of like when I'm designing stuff, I go to the designs that are actually speaking to me that day. Sometimes I find some incredible stuff that I want to make happen, but it's just not working that day. And I get it started with a really rough design and come back to it another day and it makes sense. And
yeah,
I feel like that's that same type of process.
Absolutely is. Well, I'm actually, let's go through. We'll do some quick sign-offs. I'm going to clean this guy up. Maybe I'll just post it up on Insta or something, because I don't think you guys can get a pretty reasonable look at it. But let me switch this over. I'm going to stop my video and it'll be all up to you, Patrick. So you're queued up. How can we reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram at Brogan Tattoos, BROGAN Tattoos, or my website, which is spelled the exact same way.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And looking forward to next weekend.
Fuck yeah, man. Me too.
Awesome. And I'm going to... So thanks a lot for joining us today, guys. My name is Jason Leeser. This has been Skill Building Sunday. Hope you guys got some value out of today's episode. If you didn't, that's fine. Drop me a message. You can find my Instagram right up here. Take a look at Philly Inc. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you want to see on these shows. If you did like today's show, drop me a message or make a comment, hit that like and subscribe button, and show me that way. That way I know I'm doing something right. Otherwise, hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch everyone next Sunday at 1 p.m. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Let's turn on Pat's video again.
Oh, hold on.
There
we go.
Awesome. So thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. And until next Sunday, keep those hands moving. Can't wait to see how that thing turns out, man. It's coming along amazing.
Thank you, dude. I can't wait to finish it. And if anybody ever has questions they want to reach me out or want to reach out to me for, I'm more than happy to interact with people.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch.